Laboratories, and I'm on Kerbal Space Program, and we have a station to complete. So, I'm just going to quickly go into the file, Mir Labs. Here we are inside the file. Here is the ship. I'm just going to launch it up. Obviously, this isn't too important to the station, but I would like it to be there. It gives the station more of a practical use for me as I go on through the career mode. You see, I'm going in quite the heavy lifter stage purely because I want to make sure none of the fuel in that last stage is used. I did, however, in the VAB edit each piece. You know how you right click the tweakable parts, tweakable parts. I right clicked each piece and clicked them so the fuel wouldn't be taken out of the top tanks. But obviously I wasn't sure how heavy it would be and how hard it would be to lift all that up to orbit without using any of the fuel. So I overdid it. I overdid it again, basically is what I'm saying here. I overdid it again. But overdoing it's fun. I will, however, start doing a bit more maths in the future and not overdoing things. Try and calculate my delta V and make the missions a bit more interesting. Just this overdo it, got way too much fuel, I'm definitely going to be able to do the mission kind of thing that I'm doing. But this is just how I'm doing it for now. Anyway, we've got rid of a ton of outer tanks, and we are approaching high orbits. No, we're getting out of the atmosphere, and yes, coming up to low orbit. It's low orbit because we're near the planet. High orbit is when you're going to break out of its sphere of influence or something like that. I believe so. Yeah. Anyway, so as you can see, we are burning through all this fuel like crazy, and this is turning out to be quite an easy mission. Shouldn't have any problems getting to the station at least, and just got to set up for a meetup in orbit, which is always a fiddly part. You see, I just decided, you know what, I'll just burn out to the point until I get a meetup, and then I'll try and circularize. It'll be more interesting that way. But yes, now we're going really, really slow, and we have empty tanks, I believe, on the side, or tanks that are about to be empty. So I need to decouple from those and get away from them without disturbing the meetup that I've got set up now. So there's the decouple. I need to gently push away with slight thrusts to get us away from the external tanks. Boosters, I guess they'd be called boosters. The other ones are solid fuel boosters. These are liquid fuel boosters, as we're using them just to boost us up. But yeah, they'll deorbit, and we'll be rid of those, and it won't be a problem. We won't have any rubbish left in orbit. Although you should see my other files. I'm sure I've already mentioned this. You should see my other files. There's so much rubbish left in orbit. I'm a messy space program, very messy space program. I'm going to try and start getting on top of that. Something I need to do. But there you go. As I time warp away, I shouldn't be near the fuel tanks anymore. They should have pushed themselves away, and I've adjusted my orbit. Oh wait, no, now we're floating away from them. But I've adjusted my inclination even. I've adjusted my inclination so we're on the same plane as the station. And now, as I don't want to leave debris, I believe I decouple here, or do I? Well, obviously we extend the solar panels because we need power. We don't want to run out of power. And there's the sun. We sort of angle ourselves so we're pointing at the sun, because how else are we going to get power into our solar panels? But we are now just getting that approach as close as possible. I normally get it to pretty much I'm about to crash into the station kind of thing, just to save time in the long run. Using the RCS there, which is always handy when doing small orbital maneuvers, including interplanetary. Actually, I've learned over time that when doing interplanetary missions, RCS can actually be a real help, because when you're on the opposite side of the solar system, you can do tiny adjustments with RCS and get it to the point where you are going to hit the planet's atmosphere exactly where you want to hit it from the other side of the solar system. You just coast all the way around the solar system. Oh, there's the decouple at last. I knew I'd do it eventually and not leave that thing in orbit. But yeah, you can coast around the entire solar system and hit the planet exactly where you want to hit it. Very, very useful. There we go. We get away from that. And one dark approach later, I didn't want to show all that because it was all on the dark side, so I got rid of it. And we are now approaching the sun and also approaching the station. I've had a bit of a messing around with the station. I think I left it too late to burn when I did the original play, and I went straight past the station and had to come back in my own fault, but meh. There we go, choosing time warp because I'm impatient. Obviously this is a sped up video as well because you wouldn't want to watch the whole thing in slow motion, as I do it quite slowly because it's such a heavy payload. It can actually be really difficult to do a docking approach with such a heavy payload, so you have to really take your time with it. And you see, you just start wobbling quite a lot there. I'm having lots of trouble controlling it. I believe I was trying to get it to go sideways, but it's not quite working how I want it to work. So I end up doing it the old way of push one way, then wait until you get to the point that you want to be, and then push the other way. I don't know why I turned the whole thing around. It's not like I'm using the engine, I'm using RCS. I could have left it just pointing in the same general direction, but oh well. And once I finally get it a bit more under control, I can begin the approach. I believe, here we go, I'll zoom in, and where your camera zooms in is the center of mass of your ship at the current time. So if you line it up with the center of mass, it's a lot easier. So get rid of the tug, the RCS tug. I just move it to the side. I don't want to get rid of it entirely. I just move it to the side so this can dock where I want it to be. And slowly turn around. This was actually even slower than it looks now because, as I said, this is sped up. I believe I've got a 4 times speed at the moment, the video speed. So yeah, it was actually a very long turn. Only because it's such a heavy load, I kept losing control of it. So I thought, you know what, I'll slow down, take my time, I can speed up the video, it's not a problem. So yeah, I set up my targets, everything's aligned, and I'm just pushing forward, slowly drifting into place. Turn on my lights because yay, lights are fun. And then rotate round so everything's lined up how I want it to be. And here we go, nice lovely approach. I start slowing down because I suddenly realise, oh, their solar panels are still left extended. I don't want to nudge them by accident. And we're docked. The station is complete. And as you can see, haven't touched any of the fuel at all. I'll just double check it all before I decouple and get rid of that. And that's that gone. Now you saw how it was all lined up perfectly facing the sun. And now after I've put the little RCS tug back on, the doorways are on the opposite side. I don't understand how that happened. Oh wait, look, the station's rotating. No, it's just wiggling back and forth. That's odd. But yeah, you can see the doorways are now on the wrong side. I don't understand how that happened, but either way, we deorbit our rubbish because we left a computer on it. That's the whole reason of putting a computer on it, because I don't want to leave stuff in orbit near the station, although there is, I'm sure I left one piece in orbit, didn't I? In one of my previous videos. I'm going to have to go back up and get rid of that, because I don't want that being left in orbit near the station, because I can just see it. And I have a mission where I spent ages putting together all these different pieces of a big ship, and then it'll come back and just blow the whole thing up. So I am going to go and get rid of that. There we go. Deorbiting. And so that's that got rid of. And back to the station. Doors are on the wrong side. Spin the whole thing around. There we go. Doors are on the correct side. A lovely wiggle of the station at 4 times warp. That was very entertaining to see. So now I need to do a mission which doesn't involve the search station because troll. But before I do that, I quickly need to go to science and show you that since that last part of the recording before the fade out, I installed a couple of mods. This particular mod here, fairings. I didn't install the whole mod that involves the fairings. I got rid of all the bits I didn't want and only installed the fairings because I just wanted it for purely aesthetics purposes because it looks nice. So that's the only reason I installed it. And now to do a mission without fairings because troll again. Now instead of using the station or fairings, this mission is just to gather a bit more science because the mission I want to do, I need more science. I think I need even more at the end of this, so, but you know, you get to see. this mission as it is anyway. Jebediah's leading the way. See, I didn't overdo it this time because I know I really didn't need much for what he's going to do. Get rid of those solid rocket boosters. But Jebediah is leading the way, and he's going to be the first Kerbal to leave the sphere of influence of Kerbin. So for that we need to go north. So we angle the ship over, and obviously just burn for quite a while because it's going to take a lot of energy to get out of the sphere of influence of Kerbin. So I angle down even more, and I was starting to think at this point, what angle do I need to be pointed at to get it as north as possible? Do I need to point a bit more up maybe? Am I angled down too far? After a while I start thinking, you know what, it doesn't really matter. Either way, I'm sure it'll be easy to get back to the sphere of influence of Kerbin as long as I don't let myself drift too far away. But yeah, the burn starts pushing up my apoapsis and eventually makes an interesting shape, which obviously is going to result in me crashing back down to Kerbin. But it's a pretty simple mission, pretty straightforward, and I just thought, Jebediah's so far been the first to do quite a few things, so I want him to be the first to do this as well. Because Jebediah, as per everybody's playthrough, normally becomes their main person because he's Jebediah and he's just important. He's a very famous Kerbal. But yeah, our Apoapsis pushes out, and we're down to our final piece, which, as you can see, has the science on the rear part, which we'll get rid of because, as shown before, we don't need to bring back all the science stuff anymore. Thanks to the latest update, all we need to do is bring back the Kerbal with the science, as long as he's put it in his pod with him. But yeah, that extends out really fast. I always forget how fast it's going to extend out once it gets that far out. And I decide we'll get a lovely view of Kerbin from the cockpit. And this is the reason why I use this cockpit. I love this cockpit because the view is brilliant. You can see so much from that cockpit. It's just got huge windows so you can see. And do a nice time warp so you can watch Kerbin drift away. It's beautiful, isn't it? This game's just beautiful. Why aren't you playing this game? You should be playing this game after you finish watching my video. But it's a beautiful game. I love it so much. I spend so much time on here. A bit too much time, probably. But yeah, back to the mission. We time warp up, so Jebediah leaves the sphere of influence of Kerbin. Here it comes. And we're out of Kerbin's sphere of influence. We're now in the influence of the sun's sphere of influence-ness, gravity stuff. So we spin the ship round, and we start doing some lovely science. Goo reports, try to take the temperature, which we can't take, which makes no sense. Surely there's still a temperature reading which we can take. I always get confused by these things, but yeah. Transmit back the crew report because we can. And get Jebediah out. Look at him. He's a happy little Kerbal. Oh, spun him round. Spin him back round because I'm awkward and I just want him to be facing the camera. There we go. Take some EVA reports. Little happy Jebediah. Back inside his capsule now. So he's the first Kerbal to have left the sphere of influence of Kerbin. What a great day it was for all of Kerbal kind. I'm sure Jebediah said something important. Maybe. Probably not. So we burn to the anti-norm, directly down, and there we go, intercept with Kerbin. All we've got to do now is set up the orbital injection so it's not going to be directly down towards the surface because that could be painful for Jebediah. And we go get it to about 20k, something like that. 25 is my normal that I aim for. But yeah, look at that, the line goes through the planet even though we've got a periapsis. That makes no sense at all. So, after messing around and spinning around, oh look, got a lovely view of Kerbin out the cockpit. It's so far away, such a tiny dot. Reminds me of the pale blue dot story. But yeah, either way, we go back in towards Kerbin and want to bring back all our science. Oh yeah, I quickly do a bit of science inside the sphere of influence to see if I get anything, but I'm just not getting anything. It's all got to be done outside the sphere of influence of Kerbal now. I need to go to other planets if I want to get more science. I'm just not getting anything from inside the sphere of influence anymore. There we go, we keep all that. Transmit more data. Because transmitting data is awesome. And back in the cockpit we go. Fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. And just as I'm about to enter the sphere of influence, I suddenly remember, oh god, I haven't transferred over the science, so panic, panic, panic. I get out, quickly go towards all the science instruments and start pulling out the science where I can. And I can't remember if there's anything on the thermometer. There obviously wasn't, but I quickly grab that as well, and I click outside the area. God damn it! So I quickly panic, and my recording messed up, and my Kerbal space program crashed. Quickly panic, get into the space center, go back to the ship, and nope, nope, still outside the sphere of influence of the Kerbal where it's saved. Oh well. So quickly make sure all the science is done and everything, grab it all, keep and whatnot. At this point I don't know what's been sent, what's been kept, so I'm not sure what's going on because I've had to reload, and I start going through things, and eventually I'm just like, you know what, let's just do everything over again to make sure and bring it all back. That way we know it's all okay. Now we just climb back inside the cockpit. Oh, depth perception problem. God damn it. But yeah, we get back on the side of the cockpit and climb in. You can see some science was kept, some wasn't because of duplicating science. So I don't know what's been duplicated, as I said before. So I got a bit confused from the panic and the crash and whatnot. The game crash, of course. But yeah, we set it up so we can intercept Kerbal again and get our periapsis just right. And you see it's doing it again, it's going through the planet again, it's going through the planet, but I don't understand that because when I get down to here it's clearly obviously not going through the planet anymore. It's just, I don't know what causes that, but there we go. Look down towards the planet, decouple, and there's our pod full of science. We don't need all that section, all we need is this to come back. So just to make sure Jebediah gets back safely, we bring back just the cockpit with a parachute on it. That way we know it's going to be a soft splashdown or touchdown on land, and there won't be anything exploding or anything. So we start bringing it down into the atmosphere, adjusting so we have the rear of the ship pointing towards the re-entry, because obviously that's where all the heat reduction, whatever. That's where the plates would be. So to protect it from the re-entry heat. Look at those flames. Beautiful. Contrast against the ice in the background. It's interesting. But see, the island we just went past, it's too bad we couldn't have landed on it. I would have loved to have planted a flag. But never mind. The parachute opens and oh dear, the parachute's on fire. I forgot that we should normally wait till we've got past the re-entry heat, but never mind, it's not like it makes any difference on Kerbal Space Program. Re-entry heat doesn't actually burn the parachute to destroy it. So never mind, we slowly float down. Once all the re-entry heat's gone, there we go, it's all gone. Our time warp brings us down to the point of the parachute opening, which is just before 500 meters. We slow back down. There we go, opened for a lovely, slow, gentle touchdown. Okay, so we come in for a lovely splashdown. Jebediah gets a bit excited. All the excitement goes to his head and he thinks he's on another planet, so he starts grabbing surface samples, doing EVA reports, and then gets back into his cockpit and we recover him and remind him he is back on Kerbal. So you see we've got some nice amount of science. Go into the Science Institute place, R&D, yes, Research and Development place, and we quickly grab more science. We've got the one unit which we can do more research with, and what we're going to need in the future are the smaller parts, smaller engines and such, to go for probes, and we research that, and we don't have much science left. So let's have a quick flick through what I can unlock next, and that's the end. So it's been fun. I look forward to seeing you guys next time for more research.